The universe has set two insurmountable walls for all civilization. One is the speed of light and the other is absolute zero. The speed of light is the ceiling you can never reach, while absolute zero is the floor you can never touch. The surface of the sun at 5,500 degrees can instantly vaporize steel, but the destructive power of absolute zero is 10,000 times more terrifying than the sun. Because high temperatures only make molecules move faster, while absolute zero directly presses the pause button on the entire universe. Negative 273.15 degrees. At this temperature, time almost loses its meaning. Chemical reactions completely stop, and even light becomes as thick as zero. But the strangest thing is, you can never truly reach this temperature because quantum mechanics dictates that every particle must retain a tiny bit of energy. This is called zero-point energy, a bug written into the universe's fundamental code. You can get infinitely close, but you'll always be one step away. However, what truly keeps scientists up at night is the question: if one day a civilization really breaks this iron law and forcibly reaches absolute zero, what will happen? Some theories suggest that at that moment, the physical laws of the entire universe will completely collapse. Speaking of this, surely someone will ask, ancient people didn't even have thermometers, so how did they know there was such a mysterious limit in the universe? Over 200 years ago, there was a Frenchman named Gay-Lussac. He was conducting what seemed like a very boring experiment. He filled a glass tube with some gas, then heated and cooled it, recording the volume changes. With such a simple operation, he discovered a rule that sent chills down everyone's spine. No matter what the gas is, for every degree lowered, the volume decreases by a fixed small amount. He plotted these data on a graph, and all the points surprisingly lined up perfectly into a straight line. Even more frightening is that if you extend this line, it intersects the horizontal axis at negative 273 degrees. What does that intersection mean? It means the gas volume becomes zero, completely disappearing. But how can matter vanish into thin air? So Gay-Lussac understood that this point is not where matter disappears, but a red line drawn by the universe that nothing is allowed to cross. Later, scientists repeatedly verified with more precise methods and finally locked this number at negative 273.15 degrees, which is the origin of absolute zero, a cosmic forbidden zone calculated through mathematics. So, what exactly is terrifying about this temperature? Many people think cold is just about freezing to death. People can't withstand negative 80 or 90 degrees in Antarctica, but the horror of absolute zero is completely different from the cold you understand. The temperature we usually talk about is actually describing how agitated the atoms are. When boiling water, water molecules move around wildly, so the temperature is high. When water is frozen into ice, the molecules calm down, so the temperature is low. Absolute zero is the critical point where atoms completely stop moving. Imagine what would happen if a living person were suddenly thrown into such an environment. The tens of trillions of cells in your body, each containing countless atoms, would all come to a complete stop in an instant, not gradually freezing, but directly freezing in place. Your brain doesn't have time to generate any thoughts, your blood doesn't have time to coagulate, your heart doesn't have time to complete its last beat. Everything will be stuck in that moment, like a photo permanently frozen. Moreover, your body would become the most perfect specimen in the universe because bacteria would also be frozen and nothing could cause you to decay. You would remain in this state until the end of time. But honestly, this is just the appetizer. What truly drives physicists crazy are the antiphysical tricks that matter performs when approaching absolute zero. Let's start with the first strange phenomenon, called superconductivity. In the early 20th century, a Dutch scientist discovered a bizarre phenomenon while cooling metals. When the temperature dropped low enough, the resistance of certain metals suddenly became zero. What does this mean? It means that the electric current flows through them without encountering any obstacles. If you pass an electric current through a superconducting loop and then remove the power source, the current will keep flowing, not for just 1 or 2 days, but theoretically until the end of the universe. The electrical wires we usually use heat up and lose energy as the current flows through them, which is common knowledge, right? But superconductors completely shatter this common knowledge, with electrons flowing through them more smoothly than a high-speed train, without any energy loss. The second strange phenomenon is even more bizarre, called superfluidity. Scientists cool helium down to about negative 271 degrees and it becomes liquid, but this liquid helium is completely different from ordinary liquids. It has no viscosity and flows like a ghost. If you pour it into a cup, it will climb up the walls of the cup and flow over the rim by itself. No one pushes it, there's no external force, it just wants to escape. What's even more outrageous is that if you put it in a seemingly completely sealed container, it can seep through atomic level gaps, as if this liquid has some kind of consciousness, knowing how to find every exit invisible to the naked eye. The first time scientists saw this experiment, they probably wondered if they were seeing ghosts, but that's nothing. The real showstopper comes next. In 1995, two American scientists created something that only existed in textbooks. It is called Bose-Einstein condensate, the fifth state of matter: solid, liquid, gas, plasma, and then this. This thing only appears in an environment infinitely close to absolute zero. What's strange about it? In this state, thousands of atoms lose their individuality and become the same thing. They don't just crowd together, they truly merge. They start to vibrate in exactly the same way, move in exactly the same way, as if thousands of people suddenly shared the same brain. NASA built a cold atom laboratory on the International Space Station specifically to study this, and scientists there witnessed a hair-raising phenomenon. An atom appearing in two different places at the same time. You heard that right? The same atom in two places at the same moment, which is absolutely impossible in our world. You cannot stand in the living room and the bedroom at the same time. But under those extreme low temperatures, the crazy rules of the quantum world begin to invade reality and atoms can really duplicate. How far have humans gone to touch this forbidden zone? In 2021, scientists at the University of Bremen in Germany set a record by cooling a cluster of atoms to just 1/38 trillionth of a degree above absolute zero. This number is written as 0.00000000038 Kelvin with 11 zeros after the decimal point. This temperature is so low that no thermometer can measure it. Scientists can only deduce it by calculating the speed of atomic movement. To achieve this, they dropped the device containing the atoms from a tower 120 meters high. During the few seconds of free fall, the atoms were freed from the constraints of gravity and their movement speed dropped to almost zero. For those brief 2 seconds, that tower in Germany became the coldest spot in the known universe. Speaking of the universe, do you think there are places this cold in nature? There actually are. 5,000 light-years away from Earth, there is a nebula called the Boomerang Nebula. It is gas ejected from a dying star, and the cloud is expanding at a speed of 500,000 kilometers per hour. This rapid expansion causes a dramatic cooling effect, similar to how the surface of a balloon cools when you quickly release the air inside. The temperature of the Boomerang Nebula is only negative 272 degrees, just over 1 degree away from absolute zero. How extreme is this? The Big Bang left behind a residual warmth called the cosmic microwave background radiation, with a temperature of about negative 270 degrees, which is basically the average temperature of the universe. The Boomerang Nebula is actually colder than the universe itself. It is currently the coldest natural celestial body discovered by humans, without exception. The existence of the Boomerang Nebula reveals a harsh reality. The universe is gradually heading towards extreme cold. In physics, there is a law called entropy increase, which simply means that heat always flows from high temperature to low temperature until both sides are the same. Stars are burning, but they will eventually burn out, and black holes are devouring, but they will ultimately evaporate completely. When the last bit of heat in the universe dissipates, the entire universe will infinitely approach absolute zero. At that time, no reactions will occur, no energy will flow, and even time will lose its meaning. So scientists call this heat death, the ultimate death of the universe. In a universe of heat death, there is no light, no heat, no sound, no movement, only eternal, absolute, boundless silence. So why is absolute zero terrifying? It is not simply cold, but the end of existence itself. So when atoms stop moving, chemical reactions cannot occur. And when chemical reactions stop, life cannot exist. When everything is still, what meaning does time have? Some people say, if you could freeze yourself close to absolute zero, could you achieve immortality? In theory, you indeed would not age anymore because everything in your body has stopped. But the problem is, your thoughts, feelings, and consciousness all require atomic movement to exist. When atoms stop moving, you cease to exist. This is the cruelest paradox of absolute zero. It can grant you eternity, yet it strips you of the ability to perceive eternity. Izabizai. You will exist forever, but you will never know you still exist. The universe locks space with the speed of light, preventing any civilization from traveling far enough, and locks time with absolute zero, preventing any existence from staying long enough. These two walls trap all intelligent life on their own tiny islands. Maybe one day, a civilization will break through one of these walls, and by then, all our understanding of the universe will have to be completely rewritten. But until that day comes, absolute zero remains the ultimate curse hanging over all civilizations. It reminds us that the end of the universe is not a sea of fire, but a dead silence, and that silence is slowly approaching us with every passing second.